Hey, I want to ask you something today that you probably don't get asked often. And my question is, what if the thing that you have been running from your whole entire career, your entire life, the thing that makes you uncomfortable, the thing that creates tension, what if that is actually the thing that you as well as your team requires to go to the next level, to fulfill the potential that you know that your team, that your company has? And I'm talking about tension. I'm talking about discomfort. I am talking about those moments when everything else feels unsafe. We have all been sold this idea that good leadership means creating safe spaces, right? I'm sure you have heard it, where everybody feels good, nobody rocks the boat too hard. I'm sure you have heard this idea of leadership is about creating a safe space. But here is what I have learned the hard way from working with multiple CEOs and helping their companies scale to 10 times or more their current size. And the truth is that safe spaces don't create bold transformation. Safe spaces don't create powerful leaders. Like, I get it. Like, for most of my life, I have avoided any kind of discomfort or tension like a plague. I'm naturally introverted. So if a conversation would get uncomfortable, I would find a way to smooth it over. Just sugarcoat it or say a white lie and just nod in the meeting and then deal with it later. But tension in a room, I would find any reason not to even be in the room or never even open my mouth in the room because of the tension. I've almost spent most of my life avoiding that tension. And you know what happened? It was eating me up from the inside. Because deep down, just like I know you, I could see who I could become. I could feel this gap between who I was and who I knew I was capable of becoming. And all of that avoiding tension, avoiding discomfort, it only kept me stuck where I was. It kept me stuck in the gap, never helped me move from here to there. It looked good on the outside, but I was completely restless inside. Everything that I wanted only stayed in the future, like a sliding window of time which never gets closer, never moving closer. And I could see my life drifting by without anything changing. That was painful. Then again, everything shifted the moment I realized that the very thing that I have been avoiding my whole life was actually the doorway to everything that I wanted. I saw that the only way through was through it. The only way through was through that pain, through that discomfort, and through that tension. And here is what I see with almost every CEO and founder that I work with today. They come to me fresh out of some major tension. It could be an argument with a co-founder. It could be a board that is pushing them back hard or that is not supportive. Or it could be a partnership that is falling apart, both on the professional or on the personal front. And what do I do today? I don't try to make it easier. Again, this is coming from my learnings, which I've learned the hard way in the last few years. I don't try to release that tension now. I hold it. Sometimes I even crank it up a notch. I ask the questions that make them sweat. I put them in situations where they can't hide anymore. And let me tell you, it is uncomfortable as hell, right? For them and for me as well. Every part of my old conditioning is screaming at me to let them off the hook, to make it easier, to say the nice and easy words, but then I don't, because I have seen what happens when you stay in that fire, when you stay in that tension. You grow, they grow, the people in front of me grow, I grow, their companies explode, impossible becomes inevitable, the team comes together like never before. People feel grateful to me for holding that tension because everybody becomes better. Everybody grows as a human being as well as a leader on the other side of that discomfort and tension. Let me tell you about just one of my clients. This CEO had a marketing guy who was a very good person, cared about the company, but he had this habit that was slowly poisoning everything. And what would he do? In meetings, he would become the perfect angel. He would nod, he would agree, he would say, yes, absolutely, great idea, let's do it. But after the meeting, he would corner people, he would reach out to people one by one with his real concerns, with his real objections, which he would not voice in the group meeting together. The whole team thinks that he is on board when he is not. And then people are confused, frustrated, spinning their wheels, spending their time in side conversations instead of moving forward to the idea that they just agreed upon in a team meeting. And the CEO, he sees this happening over and over again. He is frustrated and annoyed because it requires him to now get involved and eats up his own time as energy as well as everybody in the team. The CMO, the marketing guy, basically take up everybody's time and energy. The CEO does nothing because he doesn't want to create conflict. He doesn't want to create that tension. He doesn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. He wants to keep the peace. He wants to keep the psychological safety because he is also a nice person. He doesn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. He tells me the CMO is like this. I know him. We have worked together for a while now. So I know him. This is the way the person is, and I can't really do anything. So I told him very simply, that's not your job. If you are the CEO, keeping everybody comfortable is not your job. Your job, even though many people have told you, is not to create a safe space, is not to make people comfortable. Your job is to make people better. If your job is to help people see even what they are capable of becoming and then help them move towards that. And sometimes that means creating tension, not just avoiding tension and creating a safe space, but deliberately creating tension and holding that tension without letting anybody squiggle their way out of the tension until people grow, until the person in front of you grows because of that. And I empowered the CEO to ask a very difficult question and then hold the space with his CMO. So we set up this conversation, which was not some polite or sugar-coated thing. It was the real deal. It was the conversation that the CEO was avoiding for the last many years, leave alone this last meeting, this incident that happened. So in that meeting, he asked his CMO that, can you see that your personal preference to not speak openly in a team meeting and then have side conversations is coming in the way of the company hitting its commitment? The CEO asked the CMO, like point blank, that can you see that your personal preferences are stopping even me, the CEO, and others in the leadership team to do their jobs by eating into everybody's time and energy? This was not a question with blame. This was not a question with arrogance. This was a simple question, objectively, with care for the person that you're speaking for. This is what being a leader means, to speak, to ask an uncomfortable question without going into any negative energy. And after he asked the question, he stayed silent. After you ask a question which creates tension, I think the most important thing for you to do is to shut up, is to hold that tension. Do not release it too soon. Do not allow the person to deflect or postpone or distract from the question that you just asked, from the tension. Because from on the other side of this tension is growth, is the growth that you are waiting for, is the growth that your company is waiting for. And then after a few moments of silence, the CEO asked another uncomfortable question. Is putting yourself first in front of the entire company, is that okay with you? And then he asked him, are you willing to change your behavior to put the company first? Which is the reason all of us are here in the first place. And once again, after every question, silence. After that, a few days later, I coached the CEO to raising the tension even more. This is not the end of it, right? So this already helped the CMO grow, open up, share a bit more, get to that realization that yes, he was coming in the way of the entire company. So after a few days, I invited the CEO to then bring the CMO and this conversation openly to the whole team, to not to just now have this one-on-one, but you had the marketing guy in a team meeting stand up and own, once again, without any blame, without any guilt, without any shame, but to stand up and own his behavior, what he realized and what is he changing now for revitalizing the entire team, to talk about where he was willing to step outside of his comfort zone, even get outside of his own preferences to avoid a team meeting, a team conversation, to serve the company better, to make the company move forward, which was the reason all of these people were together in the leadership team. When the CEO invited the CMO to speak and the CMO was speaking, you could cut the tension with a knife in that room. There was pin drop silence. Everybody's eyes were wide open, almost like nobody was breathing. Because this was years of patterns and behavior being shifted. It was brave. It was not safe. It was not a safe space for the CMO, for the CEO, because he could never have predicted what would have happened. But it was a brave space. It was a vulnerable space. It was courageous on him. On his side, it was courageous for the CMO to share. And I salute their courage. I salute the courage of every leader who steps beyond what is comfortable, who steps beyond what is a safe space to create a brave space. The entire room and the team was tense in that meeting like never before. But you know what else was there? There was respect. There was growth. There was a breakthrough waiting to happen. That day, didn't just produce better results for that team, for that company. Those people actually became better. They became better individuals. The team got better as a unit, as a team. They stepped into a brave space together, not just individually. And that is where the magic happens when you can do this. First, you have to do it individually, but then the magic happens when you can do it together as a unit. Now, here is what most leaders completely miss. Releasing tension too early is like dropping the weight the second it gets heavy. Your muscle never grows. You stay weak. When you release the tension, when you drop the weight too early, when you jump in to rescue your team, to fill in the gap, to avoid that discomfort, you and your team, everybody stays weak. There is no growth. Think about it. When you are in the gym and that weight starts to burn, what is actually happening? Your muscle fibers are literally tearing apart. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. Your body is screaming at you to stop. But that is not damage. That is growth trying to happen. When you put the weight down too soon, when you make it comfortable again, you rob yourself of the very thing that makes you stronger. Those tiny tears in your muscles heal back bigger, tougher, and more capable than ever before. Leadership is exactly the same thing. Let me directly look into the camera as I say this. When your team is struggling on a tough decision, that is that weight on the bar. When you are having that conversation that makes everybody squirm, those are the muscle fibers tearing apart. And when you avoid the conversation, when you step away, when you say, let's revisit this, it's okay, nothing changes, nobody grows. In that case, you have no future. Your company, your team have no future. You are only recycling the past. Your future is simply a repetition of the past, same or similar, but nothing new, nothing transformative. When you feel that knot in your stomach because you're pushing someone beyond their comfort zone, that is growth trying to happen. If you avoid that, you avoid growth. You avoid the responsibility of the role that you are here to play. And what most leaders do, they drop the weight too soon, right? They say, let's table this for now. Let's come back to later. Maybe we should take a softer approach. Let's not push too hard. Let's not push too far. Let's revisit this again in the next quarter. No, I want you to hear a bold no from me here. You just robbed everyone in that room, in your team, of becoming stronger. A good coach might pat you on the back for that, for creating that safe space. Tell you that it's okay. Tell you that make it comfortable. You kept it safe. Yeah, that's good. You maintain psychological safety. But you know what a great coach will tell you? You know what somebody like me will tell you? Bullshit. Bullshit on that. I'll call you bullshit every single time you do that. Because when you release that tension too soon, you steal everyone and your own growth. You steal your future. There is nothing wrong or bad about it. There is nothing to blame or to find fault, because leadership is hard, right? So hear me out here. This is what you are doing. You are depriving others and yourself from the privilege of growing because the situation in front of you got too hard. Now, great coaches are also great leaders. Great leaders are also great coaches. They load more weight on the bar. They lay more weight on themselves, on the team. They hold the tension. They don't just create the discomfort. They also don't amplify the tension, but they hold it. They hold it until something inside of you breaks through to the other side, or something inside of the person in front of you breaks through. Great coaches and great leaders are not talking to you for who you are right now. They are tearing you apart. They are talking to the future you that they can see even before sometimes you can see. That is what your job as a leader is. You are not there to keep people comfortable. You are not there to make them safe. You are there to break them down so that they can and you can help them in building up back together, stronger individually and then as a unit. I know exactly what is going through your head right now. But what if I break them, right? What if I take it too far? What if I push too hard? What if the person in front of me can't handle it? What if they leave? What if they get angry? That is simply your fear talking, and that's normal. Every time you take on something which is brave, your fear will speak. You know what is really happening? You're scared of your own power. You're scared of what you might create if you actually demanded excellence instead of accepting mediocrity from yourself and your team. And you will know when it is too much. You will know when to stop. You will know when to release the tension, but only when it comes to it in the moment, not now, not as an intellectual discussion. That is just timidity. That is just distraction. If you're not even having a hard conversation, a required conversation because of some fear, some worry popping up in your mind, you will know when it comes to that. Deal with it when it happens rather than dealing with it before it happens. In the long run, people will thank you for seeing something in them that they couldn't see in themselves. They will thank you for not letting them play small. Even if not in the short term, they will come back to you in the long term. But here is a real question that is for you, right? How long are you going to keep protecting people from their own potential? How long are you going to keep everybody comfortable while the company slowly dies of politeness and mediocrity? How long of more of that is enough for you? For me, it is not. You can keep choosing safe spaces. You can keep choosing to be comfortable if you want. You can keep tiptoeing around other people's feeling. You can keep avoiding that discomfort. You can keep having all of those polite conversations that change nothing. But let's stop lying to ourselves, right? Look at the results of the last few years for your team, for your company. How is that working out for you? Really, ask yourself. Look me in the eye and tell me, all that comfort and politeness, has that created the results that you actually dreamt of? Have those created the results that you are actually here for? That you know that you and your team is capable of? Safe conversations can produce good enough, but never excellence. Excellence demands tension. Excellence requires tension. Excellence feeds on tension. And it is your job as a leader to create it, to hold it. Your team is underperforming and you know it. I know that you know it. People are hiding their real thoughts and you know it as well. You're all stuck in this dance of niceness in your team meetings while your competition or a new kid with a startup idea is eating your lunch, running ahead while you're staying stuck with your old repetitive ways. That is what happens when you choose comfort over growth. That is what happens when you drop the weight every time it starts to get heavy. Now imagine this and really see it. A team where people don't hide behind fake smiles, where they don't whisper complaints in hallways or inside conversations, where when you put that weight on the bar, people don't drop it. They push through until they become stronger. They have the tough conversations that are required rather than the polite conversations which are so easy to have, rather than the plastic smiles which are so easy to put on your face. Where tension or uncertainty or not knowing isn't this monster that everyone is afraid of. The very thing that everybody knows will make them and you as well better. That is a brave space. That is not a safe space. That is where leaders are made. That is where greats are made. That is where impossible results stop being impossible. So here is what my invitation to you is today. Stop being afraid of your own power. Stop protecting your people from growth. Start putting some weight on the bar and holding the tension until you and the people in front of you, they break through. Stop avoiding those difficult questions. Ask them. Ask them openly. Ask them with a smile on your face, not with arrogance, not with a pointed finger, but with a smile, with humility on your face. To yourself and others, hold that space, hold that tension while people come out stronger on the other side. So stop chasing those safe spaces. Stop thinking that your job is to keep everybody happy and comfortable. Stop dropping the weight the moment anything gets uncomfortable. On the other hand, start creating tension. Hold it. Demand more from people, starting with yourself. Stay in that fire until something breaks, until something transforms. Because that breakthrough you have been waiting for, the one that is going to separate you, your team, your company from every other comfortable, mediocre leader out there, it is trapped on the other side of the discomfort that you keep avoiding in conversations with yourself and with your team. See, safe spaces are good. They create followers. But the brave spaces create leaders. They create excellence. And this world, the world that we live in beyond the business world also, is drowning in followers who want to look and appear like leaders, but not real leaders. And my invitation to you to be a real one, to be a leader. What our world is starving for today is leaders brave enough to put that weight on the bar, to build the tension and then to keep it there. The world is hungry for leadership like that. And real leadership is not pleasant, it is not comfortable. But yes, it is real, it is blunt, it is in your face, you can't avoid it. So the only question left is this: are you going to keep dropping the weight, or are you finally ready to see how strong your people actually are? Are you ready to ask the tough questions which builds tension and then hold the space while others grow, while you grow as a result of that space? So once again, as always, the choice is yours. Until the next time, keep choosing leadership.